Welcome to the episode of Call to Serve, where we bring to you the life of a priest, which is one of sacrifice and service because it is the life of Christ. Today we have Father Rupert Barbosa. He is a priest for the past 44 years. He was the director for promoting vocations for 6 years. He was a parish priest for 5 years. He was also a member of the teaching faculty at the Capuchin Seminary in Goa. He was the provincial assistant for a couple of years for the province of Karnataka, Maharashtra and Goa. We welcome you, Father.
Thank you.
In every episode, we begin with the question, what is your vocation story?
I was an altar boy at a very young age. And all the time, my house was very close to the church as well. And because of my pious parents and my family was very pious, I was always thinking of a devoted life. Then, as I reached my high school, then there was a mission in the preaching in the seminars. There was a mission conducted by the Capuchin priests, 2 of them, in the parish. And I attended that. And those 2 elderly Capuchins were
very warm and loving.
Yes, warm, loving and good preachers with donning a long beard and all that. I was enamored by them. And one of them caught hold of me somewhere or other, after the altar service. And then, what do you think of becoming? And I said, I have thought of becoming a priest, I said. Then he said, why don't you become a Capuchin? I had no idea of a Capuchin. But then I wanted to become a priest all the time, Then he gave me a kind of a push and used to keep in touch with me. He was sending some postcards, some religious articles. And when I finished my high school, then he was after me. Then I joined.
Did you hear a voice of God calling you, Father?
Yes, that is, and I was serving Mass, as you said in the beginning. All the time there was a kind of a pull. I can't
a desire from within.
Desire within. And even, all my relatives he's going to become a priest, he's going to become a priest and all that. They were saying. So all this was working in me. I didn't know how to do it or when to do it. Is it possible to do it? That was my question, but I had a great desire right from my early ages.
Did your family play a role, Father, in nurturing and nourishing this seed in you?
My mother was a very devout lady and a prayerful person, always teaching us small hymns and always reminding us of doing
praying the
rosary and all that kind of thing. So our house was a prayerful one. And if God calls one of my children, so that was...
she always expressed her heart's desire to you all.
Yes, that was there.
And hence you feel the family was very cooperative.
Yes, but there was a little, when actually I wanted to join, there was a bit hurdle because when my education itself was till primary school, it was near the church. After that, I had to do my high school. I had to walk 9 kilometers. There was no bus facilities. And I was 9 kilometers up, 9 kilometers down. And only on desire that, I have to become somebody and something like that. But when completed, my father was thinking that I would, do something better for the family and then, pick up job or work, something like that. But then, when I announced to him, it was a bolt from the blue, blue for him, and he was feeling uneasy. But when repeatedly asked, then he said, if it is God's will, you go. God will bless us.
So your father was a little hesitant.
Because
whereas your mom was very happy.
Not very happy, but she was okay giving in to that. But whereas dad was, because he was seeing the future, because I have got siblings many. So I was needed for the family. That was the situation.
Father, who inspired you? What was your inspiration to join priesthood?
I was coming from a pious, devout family, and there were always prayers and singings, music in my house. I was a altar boy from my early age, and then all the time I was thinking of to become just one of like a parish priest. I had no idea of a Capuchin, but then one day I wanted to become just like my parish priest. And one of the parish priests was a very nice person, very kind, very helpful. So he was always, I was admiring him that way. One day I wanted to become just like one. That was later when those two Capuchin priests came to preach a retreat, mission retreat in our parish, and they were looking very devout. At the same time, good preachers. I was inspired. So I said, one day I must become just like one of them. And they were donning long beards those days, and then it was something marvelous. And for that reason, I am still keeping my beard. And they were good preachers. So I also wanted to become one day a retreat preacher. And I have done that in my life. So that is what...
Your desire.
Yes, one of the desires.
Father, you've been a priest for 44 years, and you must have definitely had moments you would love to cherish all your life. Some moments you felt were the most rewarding. What were those moments, Father?
That was when I was parish priest in a parish in Mangalore Diocese, which is a difficult parish. I was sent in a critical moment when there were problems, crises. I had a lot of hard times. But towards the end, after 5 years, I was transferred. And that is the time, people showed how much they loved me, how much they appreciate me, which I did not think so far. And when, when last day, almost all the people came and started crying. And some of them who were opposing me also asked us pardon. And at the time I felt it was my hard work, my ministry and my troubles were worth. I felt so happy.
So any moment that you would like to share in particular about some service?
I went for studies to States at the age of 50, which was rather difficult as a challenging. But then, I took it up and then I had to go through all again studies after long break. But then I did it, and then when I achieved the grades A+, and even those professors from States were appreciating, I felt really it was rewarding. I came with a lot of happiness back.
Father, you must have definitely faced a lot of challenges over these 44 years.
Yes.
Can you narrate some challenges and how, with God's strength, were you able to overcome these challenges?
Yes. One is that I was actually prepared for some other ministry. Actually, I was sent to Amritavani in Secunderabad for mass media communication and for journalism and all. Came back with a vision, and suddenly I was pushed to that parish, which was a difficult one. The senior priests who were there, they were not able to manage. My provincial then, pushed me. You have to do, and then you will manage, and you have got, you have got ability. I had not even 2 months of experience in a parish. I did not even have my diaconate in a parish. I was put in a vocation home. So it was a very challenging for me, and then, I had to struggle for first 6 months. God had given me that grace. I was young, I could manage, and then really struggled. But within 6 months, I was able to bring the whole parish into good unit, one unit. And I was
so obedience to authority was a little difficult at that moment for you.
Yeah. The secondly, the same thing happened when I was transferred back, because people wanted me to continue, and there was a jubilee celebration for the next year of the parish, and every preparation was made, but because of somebody's jealousy and some kind of thing, which I was transferred, which was very, very difficult for me to take it, but then I did it. So at the same time, I was removed in a kind of an unforeseen moment. My dad died of a heart attack, and then some other crisis. So all things came together. I was feeling very, very, what is called?
Torn apart.
Yes, torn apart. Really, but after that, after a few days, I could overcome. Yeah.
Father, what is your vision for the church?
Pope John Paul II, when he came to India, he said, Christ is waiting for Asia, rather Asia is waiting for Christ. And India, of course, in Asia. Naturally, definitely today's hope for the church is in Asia, in India, because Europe already has drifted from the Catholic faith. It's possible, provided there is a kind of a real effort, unified effort in the church and the church personnel and clergy, the bishops. Definitely, we can do a lot for the future for the church in India. We priests and religious have to become men and women of prayer. The Indian mind, the Indian people are looking for swamis and sages, with reverence. Same thing also towards the priest. If priests are living their life in genuine way, I think there is hope for, and much more hope for the church in India.
Father, what would you want to tell our youth who are watching this program? What is the message you'd like to give them?
Today, Christ is waiting for the youth, and the future of the church much more depends on today's youth. But how to do it? It is the people who are in charge, the people who are guiding and leading them, who are in educational institutions, how to inspire them, give them the vision of the today's church. And youth also have to cooperate with the authorities, with the educationists, and with the clergy.
It's very true, Father, that all of these institutions play a very important role in helping the youth hear God's voice. It was such a blessing having you with us, Father. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Welcome to yet another episode of Call to Serve, where we bring to you life stories of bishops and priests who bring the gospel message alive. Today we're blessed to have with us Father Jerome D'Souza. He's a priest for the past 36 years. He's member of the teaching faculty at the seminary, at the Jesuit seminary in Bangalore. He teaches scripture there. He's presently a secretary to the province of Karnataka. We welcome you, Father.
Thank you.
In every episode, we begin with the question, Father, when did you first hear the call of God, and how did you recognize that it was God calling you?
Of course, it's very difficult to really answer that question. I come from a large family, and my eldest brother had joined the seminary already. So when I was very young, he was in the seminary, and naturally his coming home helped us to very much to reflect on that unconsciously, and probably the seed was sown during that time, and to recognize the call as such, it was quite accident. In the sense, I remember one of the vocation promoters of the Jesuits came to our school and spoke about vocation, God's call, etc. And at the end he said, how many of you would like to be priests? Nobody put up their hand. And he said, those of you who want to be Jesuits, put up your hand. Then I put up my hand like that. Probably something was there behind. I was reading a little magazine, Jesurai, Soldiers of God in English. That is, I read it in Konkani. And there I was quite familiar with Jesuits, simply by reading. I had not met any Jesuit. That was the first Jesuit to meet. Ignatius Loyola, Francis Xavier. In fact, at home, we had that song, our Saint Francis Xavier who brought us faith. So that we used to sing practically every week.
All right, Father, that's so nice. And how did you respond to the call?
Yeah, then they said, I was very young, and said those who want to be Jesuits, we have a little structure by which they come, live with us, study, and then kind of discern whether they are really called. Yeah. So I came for the high school in Mangalore, was in a boarding for 3-4 years, till PUC, and then of course in the meanwhile this desire deepened, and of course there were a few questions, doubts, etc. But at the end of the PUC, I was chosen.
Whom did you first express this call to? How did your family respond to your calling?
Yeah, apparently as a child, I used to be saying, this is what I heard from my son, I don't want fields, I don't want cattle, I'm going. And they used to fool me on that. And somehow probably that was unconsciously a way in which God acted in my life.
That's so nice, Father. So has your family played a role in nurturing this call in
very
you?
much. Not only till I joined, but much more afterwards. I remember one incident when I was going through a lot of struggle and I wanted to leave. Not sure how the family would take it. So I told my dad, I may leave because my cousin had left. And then he didn't tell me anything, but he told my mother, Jerome may be leaving. And it seems she said, why should he be leaving? Am I not praying for him? I've been praying every day 1 rosary. Now on I will pray 2 rosaries. Somehow I have felt that strength of the mother's prayer.
Praise God. So then you had moments of doubts in your formation and you felt like giving up.
Very much. I was constantly beset with these doubts. Whether I'm really called, whether I'm worthy, whether I'll be able to respond adequately, who am I, etc. In fact, during my retreats also, they used to come up. And I had a very good guide constantly. We used to do guided retreats. And he used to say, these doubts will be part of our life.
Yes.
You have to overcome them.
So when did you realize that, yes, I'm called to be a priest?
Yeah, went through a rather deep crisis soon after my ordination.
Okay.
A couple of hours afterwards, I was just practically on the verge of leaving.
Oh.
I said, I felt this, I made a wrong choice and, my life is wasted, etc. That was the moment I think I felt a very, very deep kind of assurance that God is with me and I can stake my life on Him. And that was a big act of faith that I made. I said, even if my life is going to be a waste, I'm going to be a priest.
I'm going to live it for Christ.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Father. You've had all kinds of experiences, so you've faced a lot of doubts, then you had an assurance. What do you feel now, Father, after 36 years?
Yeah. I have gone through a lot more, let's say, not doubts, but tensions, conflicts, difficult moments, but never doubted my vocation. Looking back, I feel extremely privileged.
Privileged to be called.
Undeserved call.
Yeah.
With it, lot of meaningfulness, a lot of joy, sense of fulfillment has come in.
A purpose.
Yeah.
You found a purpose in your calling.
Certainly.
Beautiful, Father. So would you like to share some incidents in particular about a rewarding moment in your journey with Christ?
Difficult to kind of pinpoint,
Yeah.
but perhaps I have a few persons in mind. I give you one little example.
Okay.
See, once there was one of the friends, mother of a Jesuit, who was suffering from cancer, almost
Okay.
on the verge of, last
Stage.
last stage. And sometimes used to undergo a lot of pain in spite of all the painkillers and all. No? So once I remember, she just called me and said, Father, I'm feeling great pain. I don't know with whom to share this, but I thought I'll just share it with you and I'll feel a lot of relief. And afterwards, when I met her, she said, Father, just by sharing that, I felt a lot of relief. Not that the pain was reduced, but I felt a lot of inner strength to face that. And I think I'm not responsible for that.
It was.
It has.
God who used you. So she had a different outlook towards her sickness after she had a conversation with you. You've been in the teaching faculty at the seminary and also a part of the formation. So any challenge concerning the seminarians, like the generation earlier, your time and the time now?
That was one of the difficulties I faced because I belonged in a way to a little older generation. Today things are very different. Their perceptions, their perspectives, even their attitudes are different. And sometimes I used to be a little discouraged. because, certain things are clear, not that we are practicing all those things, but certain things are clear. But the younger generation looks at things from a very different perspective. And my challenge was basically to kind of, to mediate between these two, the tradition in one sense, at the same time the change that is there. And somehow to bring to their awareness that certain values, certain practices are not consonant with the gospel. For example, sacrifice, for example, cross. See, these are values, whether we like it or not, they are part of the vocation, they are part of our call. And therefore, certain comfort, certain pleasure, certain perhaps even use of money, we have to be a little according to the gospel, according to the religious, this one. A certain amount of asceticism, certain amount of discipline is part of our life. Sometimes it was not so easy to communicate this, given the fact that they come from a consumerist society, come from rather families that are not so poor but well off, or even if they are poor, sometimes they are kind of exposed to situations where things are given and therefore difficult to say no. See, these were some of the kind of real challenges of formation.
How did you convince them that a certain amount of discipline is essential in all of our lives?
Sometimes difficult, but on the other hand, I think I tried to live that myself, not that I have succeeded, but
so
I think that goes across.
That
goes
across.
Yes, to be an example. I mean, to the extent possible, not that we can canonize ourselves.
Beautiful, Father. So you've walked with Christ for 36 years. You've definitely had a vision as a priest. Father, what's your vision for the church? Yeah.
Perhaps the little word of Pope Francis summarizes it well. A poor church for the poor.
For the poor.
I think somehow the church in India has to learn that. I do see a lot of difference with Pope Francis's leadership. A lot of simplicity has come in. A lot of paraphernalia has kind of been shed. And yet I think there are imperial trappings which the church, especially the hierarchy, needs to shed much more and come down to the level of people. The laity needs to be given its share of responsibility in running the church. They must have a say, I think, even in matters like liturgy, matters like celebration of other things, etc. Somehow I think it's too dominated by the clergy.
Okay, Father. Father, as you know, there are a lot of youth watching this episode. What is your message to them, and how would you help them discern their call and their vocation, Father?
Yeah. Call is a mystery. Often we have no reason to say why particular person is called. What I have felt is, why am I called? And there are so many better people, my companions, other fellows, cleverer, much more talented. So it is a mystery. We do not know why God calls. It is simply God's pleasure. And therefore we need to be little, let's say, listen to our own heart, listen to God. And God calls sinners and saints, irrespective of who. We have great sinners being called, and they change when God calls and they respond to that. So probably my message is, listen to your heart, listen to God. God can call anybody. Be open.
Yeah.
And responding to God's call is the greatest thing, most meaningful thing that can happen to you.
Thank you, Father. It was indeed a pleasure to have you with us, Father. And we pray and hope that your message inspires a lot of our viewers. Thank you for being with us through this episode. We hope Father's message inspires you and helps you to hear the call of God. We hope to see you in the next episode. Till then, goodbye and God bless.